Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another crochet haul and I'll be talking about the difficulty level of the project, how much I sell it for at craft fairs, and I will always link the pattern in the description. I always use YouTube tutorials, so it's always going to be a link to another YouTube video. However, some things I freehand, so I will try my best to link the general stitch. For example, I just learned a tulip stitch and then I turned it into a headband, so I'll link the tulip stitch tutorial that I followed, but there's not a headband tutorial because then I just rolled with it. And tomorrow, Saturday, today's Friday, tomorrow I'm going to be a vendor at an event, so I'm going to be vlogging that too, just to add on to the end of this vlog. I thought / hoped I would be able to film this vlog like a month ago, but I ended up getting a lot of Etsy orders and I have a pride collection on my Etsy shop, so going into June I do get a lot of orders and I don't really show Etsy things in my vlogs because they're just the same thing repeated. I don't need to show them in every vlog. So that means I was backed up in things that I can make that are new to show for my crochet haul. So this is a little later, but then I did have craft fairs prior to filming this, and also some things were on my Etsy shop. So there's some things that I made and then I sold. I did take a video of one thing that was a custom order, probably like a month ago at this point. It was a pastel rainbow sweater vest. So I just took a video of it before I mailed it out to the person who ordered it on Etsy. So I'll insert that now. And I do have a pattern for sweater vests that I follow on YouTube, so I will link that. I've talked about sweater vests in a lot of my other crochet hauls, but if you haven't seen those, I'll just repeat that I think sweater vests are actually a lot more beginner friendly than they seem. I think that the first time I made a sweater vest, it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So I would definitely put it in the beginner friendly category. My price range for sweater vests vary, especially depending on if it's on Etsy or if it's at a craft fair, because craft fairs I try to do lower prices because people are making spontaneous decisions. So I usually sell them for 25 to 30, and then on my Etsy shop it's usually more like 30 to 35, and there's options to tip me on my Etsy shop. And I use weight 4 yarn for pretty much everything. So if you're making a sweater vest, let's say you're making just like a solid color, it's definitely going to be about 2 skeins of yarn. And my next item is this sweater that I made, and you might recognize it if you're subscribed to me because I actually did a pattern for this sweater on YouTube. So of course I will link that. I freehanded this a couple of times in different colors, based off of someone else's sweater that I saw on Instagram, and they do have a pattern for it, so I could link that too. But I didn't follow the pattern because I don't read patterns, and sometimes I look at things on Instagram and I'm just like, I know how to do that, like I can definitely figure that out. So it's not like exactly the same as that person's pattern, because of course I would never know like exactly what they were doing, and I wasn't trying to follow it exactly. I just liked the vibe of like interchangeable textured stripes. So I made the tutorial on my YouTube channel. That's my only tutorial so far. Here's the whole thing. This one's in a size medium, and I sell it for craft fairs. Most of my sweaters I sell for $40. This is probably, well actually definitely not a beginner friendly pattern. If you're familiar with rib stitching though, like stitching the back loop only, then it should be fine, but it definitely shouldn't be like the first sweater you ever crochet. If you just know, like if you've done a sweater before and you know the layout of a sweater, and then you also know how to do ribbing, then it would be easy to apply the ribbing technique to doing a sweater, but I think that's just a little more advanced than beginner. And this is the sweater that I think I was working on the last time I did a vlog, so I showed part of it, and I was saying that I wasn't sure, I'm gonna have to back up to show the whole thing. I wasn't sure if the vision was coming through, but in the end I ended up really loving it. so the sweater is completely in half, even the neck ribbing. So I wanted it to look like it's kind of like two sweaters that are sewn together, and I think I accomplished that. Every part of it is completely in half. In one of my last crochet haul videos, I had talked about how I learned link double crochet, that's what it's called, link double crochet, and then I wanted to start applying that to sweaters because it's a stitch where you're doing a double crochet but you're linking one to the next one to the next one, so that it makes it so there's not a gap in between the two double crochets, or like every single double crochet. So basically it's making a tighter sweater, like not like less see-through. So I said that I wanted to start applying that to the sweaters I make, and so I did. I have a couple that I'm gonna maybe just one more, I'm not sure, that I started doing the link double crochet, but in the I'll show the next one. This is the next one I did that was link double crochet, so it's a cute balloon sweater. Obviously the balloons are not what I'm talking about, just the stitch is what I'm talking about. Here's the whole thing. The rest is just blue, no different color cuffs or anything. But anyway, so I did link double crochet for this too, and in the end I realized that it's making a lot shorter stitches than a double crochet would, which I knew was happening kind of, but I didn't know it was that much, because for this one I really noticed it. Because normally for a sweater I try to make it like a little more than cropped, not super long. I'll make like 30 to 32 rows, and with this one I'm pretty sure I made 35 because I was noticing that the rows were shorter in height. And then I measured it after sewing it together, and the sweater is still very cropped, more cropped than all the other sweaters I've made, which is fine. Like, cropped is fine, people still buy cropped. Like, I'm not that concerned about it. It's just like you have to know that going in that it's going to be making shorter stitches and that you have to do more rows, and I didn't think it was going to be that many more rows. Like, to go from 30 to 35 and it's still not as long as what it normally would be, that was a little more extra than I thought it was going to be. So now going forward, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep doing the linked double crochet. I'll still link where I learned that in the description, which that was a TikTok where I learned that. That's the only thing that's away from YouTube. I learned that randomly on my For You page, and I started using it, which it's good. I did a purse in it too, I think, that I'll show. So it is good for like when you don't want to have gaps, like it's not see-through, but you just gotta know that that's what's gonna happen. But back to this sweater. So there's no pattern for this really at all besides the link double crochet pattern, because this I just freehanded, and I figured out how to like the easiest way to do the rows of brown and then do the stripes and then go back and forth. I hate carrying yarn. I think that's what it's called, when you're like both of the yarns, or in this case all three of the yarn colors, are attached to the sweater at all times. I don't like doing that, so I will always like cut off yarn and then reattach it when I need it. But I just figured out a way to do it that is like the most effective. I don't really know how to explain it. If anyone wants a tutorial for this sweater, then I'd be happy to do that. I really love the way this sweater came out. I'm selling it for $40 at craft fairs. It might be different on my Etsy shop, I can't really remember. The difficulty level is like not any more difficult than a sweater if you're comfortable with changing colors. So really, if anyone wants a tutorial for this, let me know. So I would think is our basic sweaters considered beginner friendly? I guess that's all like subjective. So if you can make a sweater, you can make this, is what I mean. And then back to this one. This is a sweater that I wanted to make for a while because I have a hat like this, a beanie. That's blue. The beanie also has like clouds, and then it has one balloon. But I was like, I love the 3D effect of the string of the balloon. I saw someone else on Crochet Instagram had a balloon sweater, not very similar to this. When I was thinking about making one, so then I was like, that confirms it. It's super cute. I want to make a balloon sweater. And then I knew I wanted to do a collar, but I had to redo this collar 4 times because I kept messing up the sizing and a lot of things, and it still didn't end up really the way I wanted to. I've definitely made better collars. Like, is there a name for this? I think it's just like a collar. And it's sewn on, so this part doesn't come up. I wanted it to be like longer. I don't know, it just wasn't working out, and this was the best I could do after redoing it multiple times. I was like, this is good enough now. I think it is cute. The balloons are actually a pink yarn, but on pictures and on video, look, I think you can see it's pink now, but it looks red. I feel like when you think it's red, it's giving It vibes. The movie It, the clown movie. I've never seen that, but I think that's the vibe it's giving. Okay, what are we doing next? Frog hat. I decided to go for a tongue and a smiley. I'm not really good at doing like surface stitching, but I think it came out pretty good. I've done frog hats before. They're pretty popular, especially because the vendor event I have this weekend is a Pride event, and frogs hit at Pride. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if you know, you know. There's no pattern for this. I don't even have a pattern for bucket hats. I learned how to make bucket hats a while ago, and the pattern I used wasn't for weight for yarn, and I didn't realize that. And then I had to adjust, and it took me a long time to figure out what the sizing is for weight for a yarn. I never like looked it up or followed a pattern. I just was like, it was just like what's that called, like process and error or something. And then I finally got it, and I think I actually nailed it with bucket hats, because I figured out a way to make it so it's fitting tight until it's not, so that if it's windy, it's not gonna blow off your head. So I guess if anyone wants a tutorial for a bucket hat, I could do that too. And there's no tutorial for like making a frog either. I can make a tutorial for anything. I can make just plain bucket hats, or I can do designs. I have more bucket hats to show right now. Also, I sell bucket hats for $10 at craft fairs, but if they're extra detail like this, such as things that are being sewn on, I up the price. I have 12 written here, but I might even go 15. We'll see. And the difficulty level for bucket hats is definitely beginner friendly. I mean, even though I said that I struggled with it as a beginner, that's because I wasn't following like the right pattern for the size yarn that I was using. That's the difficult part about being a beginner crocheter, is that you don't like, oh, well, okay, maybe I should just say I didn't understand like applying patterns to the yarn size that you're using and the hook size that you're using, and that the yarn size and hook size affects it way more than you think it would. So that's why things like that can be hard, and that's why I want to make more and more tutorials, because I pretty much always use weight for yarn, like I said, and so it's nice to have a tutorial where like they're using the same yarn you are. This is a kid's bucket hat that I made for my niece, actually, because I had more leftover yarn than I thought I would. I mean, yellow yarn, after making something that I'm going to show next. And she likes ducks. I've made a ducket hat a lot of times before, and this is pretty easier than the frog, I think, because it's just 2 circles and a triangle. You can't mess that up too much sewing wise. I'm really bad at sewing, so that's why I say that. Here's what else I have in the yellow yarn. Well, two things. One is a Winnie the Pooh hat, which is the second time I'm making it, because I made one and it's sold on my Etsy prior to me filming this video. But then I had enough time this week to make another one. I'm super excited about that. I ran out of like whimsical hats, that's what I call them, at craft fairs recently. The last one I had was a burger hat, which I think I've shown in videos. And I was like, I need more. I like to have silly hats available at craft fairs. And so thankfully I had time to make the frog hat, the Pooh hat, and I have this lemon hat, which is the last thing I made with the yellow, well, actually it was the first thing I made with the yellow yarn. I was telling my mom that I was gonna make a lemon hat with this yarn, and she was like, that's not lemon color. I was like, I'm just gonna add a stem and it's gonna be lemon, because I've done that before when I've made like an orange hat, like a fruit hat, and it looked really good, and everyone thought it looked really good, and I was like, I'm gonna do that, make a lemon. She was like, that's not gonna look like a lemon. So you tell me if this looks like a lemon. I think it does. My last hat is a bee hat. I've made this before as well. This is pretty easy sewing wise because it's just making little half circles and sewing them on the top. They look like wings, and then you're just doing striping. I've made this before, and I met last year another crocheter at an event who was next to us, but she doesn't sell the same things as me. She makes stuffed animals, and she bought my bee hat, and I kept saying like I had to make another one now because I think people really like it, and I finally did. And that crocheter is also going to be next to me at the event tomorrow, so that's very exciting. And then next, I had a purse moment. I've made 2 purses, which is weird because for a while I stopped making purses because similar to like blankets, it's not good for crafters because there's not a great price point to put them at, where it's like a lot of yarn goes into them, so it has to be a higher price, but most people don't want to pay a higher price for something like that. And it would always make me kind of mad because a lot of time kids want to get my purses, and then parents would be like, we're not spending $20 on a purse, and I'd be like, okay. Anyway, I saw a purse like this on Instagram and I really wanted to try it. And I thought about it for like literal months before I did it. But it's like a purse where the straps are also the side. So I have to back up. It goes straight into the side, and then it goes up and over and then straight into the other side. That's like what this strap is. And then I added a pocket on the front. Oops. And like I said, this weekend I'm doing a Pride event. This is actually Joann's Pride Collection yarn in the bisexual color. So hopefully it'll get sold at the Pride event, because otherwise I don't really take Pride items to regular craft fairs because they're just made for people who want to buy them for Pride reasons, and I just want to like be clear to customers that it's Pride colors and maybe like not for them. Not that it matters, but I want them to know, if that makes sense, because I live in a slightly more conservative county, so of course there's a lot of people that don't want to be walking around with Pride related things. So I just want to like make it clear so there's not like mistakes happening. I do write it on the tag, bisexual. It says bi flag purse, but still I would just like avoid bringing these to regular events because people are just like, oh, those are pretty colors, and that's fine, but I don't want them to be like getting something that they don't realize what they're getting. Speaking of the price, I do have this marked as $25. I don't know if that's good for a purse. It's not that big of a purse, but I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens at the event tomorrow, and I'm going to be updating in the vlog. In terms of experience level, difficulty level, purses are pretty beginner friendly in general. You mainly just have to make rectangles and sew them together. There's a lot of different ways to make purses. For this one I made a long, for like the pink part. Oh, this was also one I did I do a linked double crochet? I might have only done it for the straps, so maybe you could see the difference. The straps were linked double crochet, so you could see like if you stretch it you're not seeing in between, but I think this was just regular, or maybe this was half double crochet. This looks half to me. I don't really remember. But for this, with the pink yarn, I made one long rectangle and folded it in half, and then I made a very long skinny rectangle for the sides and straps, and then just like sewed it together, if that makes sense. The pocket, obviously that's a little more advanced. I used the same pattern that I used to make heart sweaters. If you've ever seen my heart sweaters in previous videos, I used that same pattern and just like obviously followed it until the heart was big enough, and then turn the video off. But so that's a little more advanced, that part. You can make a pocket of any shape though. Then I have another purse. See, I was on a purse kick that I made for myself actually, because it's the kind of thing I need. This was a different kind of, I wonder if I still have the pattern that I used to follow for purses. If I do, I will link it because it was really useful. Even easier because there's no sewing involved besides the straps. to make this kind of purse, because you just like make the length, or no, the width. You crochet the width and then you kind of just keep going up. So it's a, whatever. I don't know how to explain it. That's why I hopefully can find the video. That's like actually the easiest way to make a purse, I think. Probably more easier than doing rectangles, just because it's less sewing involved. But I saw a purse on TikTok, not TikTok, Instagram, like this, and I was like, I think I understand how to make it. It's basically, it's a shoulder bag, but then it can turn into a crossbody bag. Well, now you can't see it because it's out of frame. So I was like, I'm obsessed with that because I constantly need that. Like, I love having shoulder bags, but then when you're like in a busy place or something, you're shopping and you're just like, I don't want to be dealing with constantly putting my purse back on my shoulders. So crossbodies are like more convenient. The only problem with this is that when the purse is filled and heavier, the strap like goes like this more. It goes like this, so then it scrunches up the purse. It kind of looks like a drawstring bag, but like, I don't mind that. But I also know that the person on Instagram who I got this purse idea from, is it weird to wear like this? I don't think that was happening to them, but maybe they were using different yarn. Like, I'm using acrylic. Maybe they were using something stronger. So I don't know. I don't know why that happens. It's not a huge deal, but like, I would prefer it not to do that. I will link the person's Instagram who I saw this from. And then I just tried to do it on my own. Next, I have a tulip headband. I talked about this in my last vlog recently. That was a vendor vlog, not so much a crochet haul vlog. Because I was a vendor at a pet festival. So I made these to be dog collars, right? Or like cat collars too. But I knew it could also be a headband, and I wore one as a headband to the event, and everyone was buying them as a headband. So I sold a few, and I made a new one, but I changed the pattern because it originally was calling for like a, what is it called, like a bobble stitch or something, when like you have a double crochets. But it's actually, hang on, I made one, it's over here. This is the old way I was doing it. So making the tulip part like puffy, pop out, because you're attaching all the double crochets into one, if that makes sense. Then I did it like this, where it's just 3 double crochets next to each other. I think that looks better, honestly. All the patterns I saw, I'll still link it if I saved it. I think I saved it. They all were saying to do the bobble stitch, but I just like it like this. It's just flat and nice and looks like a tulip. But then I wasn't sure like sizing, because I was originally making them as dog collars. So I was trying to make them different sizes, and then people kept buying them as headbands. And then I was like, I didn't say anything, but I was like, I hope they know. There was a sign that said dog and pet collars, so I was like, I hope they know that some of these are different sizes and that they're just sure it's gonna fit. But this one is pretty headband size. And the last thing I have to show is I finally finished my scrap yarn sweater. I'm gonna back up so you can see. It's different on like both sides, obviously, like every part is different. The sleeves are different. I love the way this came out so much. Like, I cannot even explain how much I love the way this came out. I'm obsessed with it. I think this is the sign for everyone to make a scrap sweater. I keep almost wanting to say blanket because I've been working on a scrap blanket for a literal like 6 years. That's not done yet, but this is. The way I did this, I talked about this a couple vlogs ago, a couple crochet hauls ago, that I started making this sweater. How long have I been working on this? I'm filming this in June. I want to say I started working on this in at least January, if not December. So this is six months of scrap. Well, more than 6 months, because I was saving the scraps even before that. There's multiple things I want to talk about with this sweater. First, this was unintentional striping, meaning that I didn't really plan, like I didn't separate my scraps into like color piles. I didn't plan anything. I just started making it. I got the ribbing out of the way, so the ribbing's all one color on the bottom. Am I holding it high enough? I don't know. Yeah. Then after that, I was just grabbing scraps out of my yarn caddy, unintentionally, and whatever I grabbed, I did it. I mean, there were some times when I grabbed a color and then I was like, this is not good next to the color that I just did, but that didn't happen very often. So basically I was just like grabbing colors, not like planning for any sort of pattern or coordination in the colors, because I've seen other people start to plan scrap yarn sweaters or any type of scrap yarn project, and they like categorize the yarns like and put them in like separate little jars. This is like green scraps and red scraps, which is a really cool way of doing scrap yarn, but I just purposely wanted it to be like crazy, like unintentional. I didn't think it was gonna end up being this good, but like, tell me this doesn't eat. This ate so hard. And then the other thing I want to talk about was that, as I was saying in a couple of crochet hauls ago, I had been talking about how I started to do this sweater before I learned the linked double crochet stitch, and that I kind of wished I learned the linked double crochet stitch first so that I could apply it to the sweater. And now that I'm done with the sweater, I'm really glad I didn't do that, because what I did do was one row of double crochets and then alternating one row of single crochets. So that's making it so there's thicker stripes and then the next one is a thinner stripe. I think that lends so well to any scrap yarn project. I think that just makes it so it's not just like, I don't know, I think it just makes it flow better. Anyway, I love this sweater so much. I love the way it came out. It's one of my favorite things I've probably made this year or ever. I'm already thinking about like, what am I gonna be done with my next scrap yarn sweater that I haven't even started yet. And the next one I'm gonna make for me, for sure. I made this smaller than my own size because I wasn't sure how it was gonna come out. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna want to keep it, and let me just like make it a more standard size. Like, just in case. I don't know. Who knows how it's going to come out. Let me show the other side again. But it's so, I just love it so much, and I'm excited to make one for myself. Now I gotta put price tags on a bunch of these, and then I will see you tomorrow at the event. Good morning. It's the next day. We're about to leave, and here's my little pride outfit. It says safe space, and I have a skirt, my makeup. I tried to do space theme eyeshadow, but I couldn't do it, so I just did sparkles. Since it's a space themed outfit, I put a TARDIS pin. I just started to set up now. Here's the rest of it, how it looks so far. There's vendors over in that corner too. They said the map kind of went out the window and told us to go wherever we wanted in the vendor areas. We're not even sure if we're in a vendor area, but other vendors seem to be making the same mistake as us, so that's fine. Okay, we just finished setting up and the event hasn't started yet. It's like 15 to 12, which is when it starts. But I already sold my heart sweater, which is like obviously good. It's good to make a sale. But that was my last heart sweater left so far. Like I'm gonna make more eventually, but I use my heart sweaters as like in the front. There's 10 minutes till Pride starts, that's what they're saying. 10 minutes. Anyway, so I always have it like in the front here, and now someone bought it and the event didn't even start because it like draws people to the tent because it's a heart sweater. Like it's pretty, it's nice, and now it's not there. Anyway, glad someone loved it enough to buy it right away though. And then the wind keeps like making things go all the way together. Oh no. There's a couple other crocheters and they did the same thing. Like I thought that I was the only person in the world that knew the secret of the Joann's Pride line of yarn, but no, people know. So I mean, they don't have the same stuff as me though, so like no one has a cardigan, no one has a purse. They have smaller stuff, so that's okay. So okay, here's my first rack. My sister started using this new rack. We're not sure if we love it. Woo! Because it just comes out farther instead of like getting more space up like mine does. But it's fine for now because obviously there's no one in front of us. Also, they had us like squished together with the vendors next to us because they were running out of space. But then there's like open spaces. There ends up being open spaces like over here. And we accidentally went in the row where there's like nonprofits and not vendors, but they were not organized when we came in. So here's my sister's stuff. It's okay. Obviously people walk around and they still find us. I mean, that's very obvious because I've already made a sale. And someone also is coming back for the frog hat. Where's his eye? Okay, here's my hats. I put out some beanies. Obviously beanies are not, oh, I knocked this down before when I was packing up the heart sweater. The display, someone asked if this was a choker. If you watched my last video where I did 2 events, vendor events, I was saying like, you know, it was supposed to be a head collar and I wrote or headband because everyone's buying them as a headband. And then someone asked if it's a choker. I was like, you know what, it's anything. And here's the rest. There's about an hour left and we've been doing pretty good. I sold 2 sweaters and a couple of smaller things, a couple of hats. There was someone who said they remembered me from last year and purposely like was looking for me because they wanted to get another beanie because they said my beanies just fit them really well, and I was so happy about that. I'm so glad I can provide that for someone. And my sister has sold a good amount of shirts as well. We're not doing as good as we did last year at this event, but it's only their 2nd year doing this, so it's like, and there's more vendors this year, so it's just like a little less organized than last year. But we're doing pretty well. I just wanted to update now because I feel like I'm gonna forget to end the vlog, so this could be the end.